Okay, Tex, so welcome to Argentina.
Thank you.
Welcome to Leviatán, Latin American team. I want to start with the biggest question is it's not a really usual thing seeing a North American player playing for a Latin American organization.
hmm
How's that feel for you? Because it has to be like a big leap of faith for you guys.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting feeling. I can't say at the end of last season that I'd be expecting to, be playing for a LATAM org, but it's really no different than an NA org. Everyone is, love, culture, family kind of feeling. So it's definitely an interesting feeling, but I like it.
It's also an international roster, not just in the sense of like, okay, we have 4 players from one region and one from another.
hmm
It's just you have 3 Latin American players, 1 Brazilian, 1 NA player. How's that make you feel about like how the team's gonna work? All of
hmm
these cultures combining.
I think in some situations it could go bad, but with the vibes on this team and just kind of getting to know everyone individually, I think it'll be amazing. I think it all really depends on your individual people you have, and if you have good enough, dope enough people, then you can easily pull it off.
What's the one thing that made you feel like, okay, yeah, Leviatan's the team I want to play for?
I'd say when I tried out, I could just tell the vibes were just amazing. The guys are really easy to talk to, and once I saw that, I mean, obviously I know they're all skilled. I've watched their matches, I've watched everything, their highlights and everything. So I knew they were amazing players, but once I got in the practice server and I scrimmed and I saw the vibes were amazing, I knew it'd be great.
I mean, they're all really big name players, especially in Latin America. You got King, who's being hyped for the
hmm
past couple of years as one of the best in the world, and like adding aspects to the team is probably like a big thing to take into consideration.
For sure, yeah. It's definitely cool to have superstars from their respective regions, and I think it'll be very interesting to see the cultures behind all the different people on the team, and I think we can all combine our cultures. Like, I'll bring some more North American culture, Aspas can bring some Brazilian culture, and then King can bring his culture too, and everyone else on the team, of course. Everyone's amazing to play with, so I think it'll be really, really interesting to see us play on the stage. It's definitely like a new thing for the nation, so I think it'll be cool.
I mean, I think it's gonna be the only team in the whole BCT to have like the whole region combined. So
hmm
that's gonna be pretty hype. I also have another question. You spoke about like last year you were not expecting to be joining Latin American org,
hmm
probably because of like, okay, the guard had a really good project. You guys had it going.
hmm
You won Ascension. We know it's been rocky. I want to know how's the Ascension tournament been and all of the turmoil that happened afterwards.
I think the Ascension tournament was amazing. It was fun. It was in Brazil, so it was amazing to go there and compete against other teams that we haven't played against before. So it definitely made it really fun for us. And I would say the turmoil. I mean, it wasn't really crazy. Like, it wasn't like the big drama that everyone wants. It wasn't like like bad taste in the mouth. Like, it wasn't anything like that. It was just things just didn't work out with where they were going and me. So it is what it is. And I was expecting to be on like another North American org, but I ended up here and I'm pretty happy about it.
I mean, that's great. I think all of Latin America is going to be pretty hype about it. Think, I think when the guard won Ascension, it was like, and when all of the news broke that okay, the guard's not going to be playing, the players are going to be out of the league because of
hmm
all the things. I think no one doubted the 5 of you would be in BCT, and that turns out it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
your teammates are going to be playing under G2. You're going to be under Leviatán. When we were recording the videos, we had a little bit of shit talking, a little bit of trash
Little
talking.
banter, yeah.
Um, is it going to be like when you play them on stage? Is it going to be? Are you going to have an extra fire inside you to be like, okay, guys, I have to prove you wrong. You should have chosen me.
100%. That's like one of my biggest motivations this season. You know, whenever like something doesn't work out with a team, of course you're gonna want to destroy them in the season. So, you know, if I ever lose motivation for a second or I ever lose focus for a second, I'm just gonna remind myself that, you know, what happened and just make sure it never happens again.
Great. I mean, we're in Argentina right now. We're a real big football/soccer for the NA audience. Um, you spent some time of your life living in Germany, and when we were on the trip here, you were speaking about how Germany is really big on football too, how you were a Bayern Munich fan. I want to know if that's close to you, if that's a way you're gonna have to connect with your teammates here. Everyone being from, I mean, Chile, Argentina, Brazil, all countries that really live football passionately.
Yeah, it's cool. So like obviously we all have Valorant in common, right? You know, we all love Valorant, we all love games, we all love competing, but you know, it's kind of cool that that culture kind of mixes with the culture I had growing up. You know, the soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, that culture. I think it like gives us another thing to connect on, and you know, just another thing to make the vibes better every day, and definitely improves things. Like, you know, it's weird to think about, like, you know, something random like that can have an effect on a team, but you know, just them being a fan and me being a fan, it's like, you know, it's cool.
You arrived here in Argentina last night. It's been, I mean, I think you spoke on the backstage. It's been a rough trip, 3 days of trip, having delays, having everything. You haven't had much time to enjoy what Argentina has to offer. What are you expecting?
Um, you know, everyone tells me the Argentina food is amazing, the meat is amazing. So, you know, obviously the scenery is amazing. You know, I flew over Argentina and I was like, you know, looking out the window and I was just like, wow, like, you know, this looks like an amazing place and the city's really big. And I mean, I just expect to experience culture that I haven't in North America. You know, that being the way people are. People are very loving here, very warm, very welcoming. You know, even if you don't know them, you know, it feels like you've known them for a while.
I mean, the
Where,
kiss on the cheek to say
yeah,
hello.
yeah. Like it's, you know, it's all a different experience. So I'm really just expecting to, you know, embrace the culture.
I want to know first impressions. You tried out for Leviatán. Leviatán called back. What was the first thing that came to your mind?
Um, we're gonna have an amazing year. You know, I can try out for teams or whatever, and you know, in the back of my mind, I can think, you know, this team is mad.
Yeah.
You know, this team is mad. But when Lev called back, I was like, you know, this is the first step to have an amazing year for my career and for Leviatán as an org, and to make new connections with people that I haven't known, and you know, get to know a better fan base, you know, the LATAM fan base, and I want them behind me. So those are all things that I thought about instantly when, you know, Lev called back.
When we were traveling here, we also spoke about Counter-Strike and how it's so deeply ingrained in Argentinian culture. Pretty much everyone has played or at least heard about Counter-Strike here in Argentina. You were a really big Counter-Strike player before switching to Valorant, mostly FPL. Do you miss anything about CS?
Mm, yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss CS. You know, I literally grew up on CS playing since I was 3 years old. So, you know, with the release of CS2 and you know, like everyone showing their old like videos and you know, it hits like a nostalgia like in me. Like I really grew up with Counter Strike, so I would definitely be lying if I said I miss it. But you know, I think Valorant is amazing in its own ways and has an amazing community, just like CS. So I could definitely say I miss it.
I always have this question for players. I know every one of you has their own ritual before games. I've spoken with players that like watching anime to get motivated, players that like listening to music. What pumps you up before a game?
Um, you know, it's funny. We just talked about Counter Strike, but you know, sometimes I just watch like a legendary Counter Strike like frag movie of like a really good player that I like. For example, like you know, Nico, Monesi, Zaiwu, for example. Um, I just watch like a highlight video of them, and I can just like kind of see like how they're taking over games and like you know how much it means to them. And I think that really hypes me up. You know, just watching legends, you know, do crazy things, it makes me want to do the same.
And what about playing on LAN? like playing in front of an audience. By the time this video comes out, we're probably gonna have all of the news about the show match coming up. Playing in front of a live audience, it's probably gonna be quite split because Crew has a lot of fans, Leb has a lot of fans, and it's a bit of like a derby. Um, does that pump you up? What pumps you up more, having people rooting for you or against you?
Personally, like against me, like I feel like I've been doubted a lot in my career and maybe just in my life in general. So, I think one of my biggest motivations is the people who hate me. I want them to hate me more or become a fan of me, one of the two. So I definitely say, I love my supporters. Like at the end of the day, they're the world to me. Like, anyone who supports me they have a place in my heart. They really do. But, the haters have a place too. And I really want to prove them wrong because, once you doubt me one time, like it sparks something in me for sure.
That's really Michael Jordan-esque. I took that personally. Just
Yeah.
used to hate to feel you. And on that note, I always love asking players, coaches, when it comes to what can be taken from traditional sports and brought into esports. Mostly role models or people that inspire you, whichever sport, whichever role, maybe a coach, maybe a player, maybe an analyst.
Yeah, I would say one of the things is, your idols are an idol for a reason, They either, they were born with this immense talent and, that's rare. Like, I think all pro players have, a certain amount of talent, but, what really separates, your idol from a regular player is, probably the work he did behind the scenes and, the way they think about life or the way they think about competing. And, another thing I think you can take from traditional sports is like the camaraderie. I think everyone in traditional sports thinks, their teammates are their brothers and, they're their family. And I think the teams that, in esports that can kind of put that in their team culture, I think it's really important. It can bring you really far because, I have no hate against any of the guard or G2 players. I love all of them still. And, I think one of the reasons why we were so good last year was, our brotherhood. And that's definitely something that's come from traditional sports.
You were speaking about that before while they were recording some of the presentations that whenever a team is on the low, whenever a team doesn't feel great, you can feel it inside the game.
For sure.
How does that impact you? Like you have an off day, you're not feeling well. That happens to everyone. We know obviously mental health is a whole issue. How do you try and make a switch, or how do you try to improve your day to say, okay, I've been having a shitty day up until now, but now I gotta give it my all?
Yeah, I think just, everyone has shitty days, like you said, and, just leaning on your teammates, having good teammates, having that brotherhood, having people, hype you up and bring you up is really important. You can be having a horrible day, but if you have one good round and your teammates hype you up, like that'll build the momentum to keep doing good in the day, and bring you out of the gutter. So, at the end of the day, it's really the camaraderie again that can really just, fix the day.
And going back to the sports thing, you mentioned your idols push you, they give you something to look up to. Who would you say is that person or those people to you?
I would have to say Nico from CS is probably my biggest idol, and my mom in a way, honestly. I think my mom works really hard and does everything she can to, be the best version of herself, whatever, etc. So, it kind of rubs off on me. She's an amazing person and, works very hard and, and so does Nico. I feel like the way Nico talks about the game and the way, he performs and, him and Monasi have like a kind of little brotherhood going, and I really like watching that. So I think those are things that, I idolize in people.
That's great. Does family matter a lot to you?
Yeah, for sure. I think I do all of this for my family at the end of the day. Like, I think I help them. Like me, being successful in my career helps them in a way. So, it's like another thing where if I ever lose motivation or, I ever, don't want to try as hard in a day or something like that, I always think about like my family and, how much they mean to me and how much, I'm winning for myself. I want to prove it to myself at the end of the day, but you know, I also want to prove it to my family and my friends and everyone else that, you know, I can be the best. So definitely would say family is huge for me.